So let's start looking at Editable Poly, and we're going to look at building some skyscrapers. So let's go to an orthographic view of some sort. And so the process for starting modeling is basically start with one of these primitives, like a box, drag out a box of the suitable size, and then go over to the Modifier tab. And the Modifier tab is where you do all your modifications. But at the moment you can see that we have no editable poly, no sub-objects available. So to convert this object into an editable poly modifier, we need to do this. Right click and do editable poly. And try not to miss, because you can make editable patches, and, which are other objects, but you should now see this editable poly and the various sub-objects. And we can now go into our sub-objects and start modifying things like changing the height. You can access the sub-objects by pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can go in and out by pressing the same sub-object again, and you can see that change there. So let's modify this object. So let's look at making insets and extrusions. So the way a lot of modeling works is that you want to create an outline and then you want to extrude it. So you kind of draw the shape that you want to make and then you extrude it outwards. So we are going to add like some sort of machinery on top of this building. So let's do it like this. So we're going to take this, which is inset, and then we click on a poly and then hold and drag in, and that does that, and that's the outline for our machinery. And we can edit that. Let's do W, stick it over there, and we can then go back to our poly mode, and we can see we now have our extrude option, and then we can click on extrude, click down and drag up. Now bear in mind, if you're in perspective mode, so if I go press P for perspective mode and then press Z to zoom in on my object, in perspective mode that process can be a little painful. You can see it's working there, but sometimes it can be a little painful. But I highly recommend always working in an orthographic mode, so you can do that by pressing F or T or something and then rotating around to zoom in for your object. So let's talk a bit about the different features of the extrude modifier. So I'm going to do that by creating another box. Like this. Yeah, let's make a cylinder. Yeah, that sounds a bit more interesting. Okay, so let's make a cylinder like that. And then I'm going to isolation mode, and again I'm going to go to the modifier tab and right click to turn it into an editable poly, like that. Actually, let's plan ahead and let's give it some height segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. That's better. Now I'll turn it into an editable poly. I think it's a bit thick for a building, so let's make it a little narrower. There you go. That'll do. Right, so let's select some polygons like this. That'll do. So if I click on extrude now and try and do this, you can see it goes off to one side, and that's really not useful. So if we click here, we'll get Extrude Settings, and we get this little floating widget which will allow us to modify the effect of our extrusion. So significantly, we've got by local normal and by polygon. So let's click on local normal, and you can see it does that. And if we click on by polygon, you can see it does that. So let's have by local normal, and then I can spin down and reduce the size of that a bit. That's a bit more interesting. Also, this is dynamic, so it's not actually applied. This is just a preview, so I can cancel it and that will happen. So I can also, if I click on Extrude Settings again, I can also select more polygons. And we get this. And let's tick that. Cool. Yeah, I think still be smaller like that, maybe like that. That's a bit more interesting. Okay, right. Anyway, so before I get carried away, let's look at some more edit poly parts. So you can see that as I change my sub-objects, if you look up here, you can see that the modeling ribbon changes. So the modeling ribbon is context sensitive, so that's something to bear in mind. So if you can't find the tool you want, make sure you've got the right sub-object selected.